friend. You're listening to The Sustainable Bodyworker, the podcast for massage therapists who want to grow thriving, purpose-led businesses without the burnout. Here we talk about nervous system aligned business strategy, pricing that makes sense, client work that doesn't deplete you, and how to build a career that actually supports your life. I'm your host, Gretchen Pop, massage therapist, mentor, educator, and recovering overachiever. Let's get into it. Hey friend, welcome back to the Sustainable Bodyworker podcast. I want to start real quick with something that might sound a little dramatic, but I mean it. Undercharging your clients is not just a money problem, it's an energy problem. It's a boundary problem. And over time, it becomes a nervous system problem because your body knows when you're giving more than you're being met. And this week, I've been thinking about this a lot because I keep hearing practitioners say they're trying to remain affordable, they're trying to be accessible, they're trying to do the right thing. And meanwhile, they're drowning, they're exhausted, resentful, or questioning if they even want to keep doing this work. And that is not what we are here for. So in today's episode, we're talking about why charging your worth is an ethical practice. And I'm framing it around one word: reciprocity. Because reciprocity isn't a nice to have. It's the thing that makes your business sustainable. We're going to get into discount culture, sliding scales, the trap of trying to be affordable as your whole business strategy, and the biggest reframe that changed everything for me. If you want to give generously, you need to have space to do it without resentment, without depletion. This is one of those episodes that might change the way you relate to your work with clients because the goal isn't to do less high caliber work. It's to do the same incredible work from a place of fullness and stability. And before we dive in, just a quick reminder, founders pricing for the Sustainable Bodyworker membership is open until March 8th. And if you're at the point where you know your pricing, you know your boundaries and your nervous system, all of that need a little bit of support to change, but you don't want to figure it out alone. Maybe you've tried other systems and you haven't felt supported. This is the place for you. You join, you work with me one-on-one to pick the best track for you, get you the system that's actually going to change your business and change your life, and you get to start building a business that supports you in a sustainable way. The link's in the show notes if you're ready. Let's get into the episode. So lately, I've been thinking a lot about reciprocity. And this originally came up for me during a conversation with a friend a few days ago. We weren't talking business at all, but we were talking about relationships and about how sometimes, even when there is a lot of care and love present, some people simply don't give in the same way that you might give. And that doesn't necessarily make them bad people, but it does oftentimes create an imbalance in the relationship. What we were really talking about was energy expenditure and how that feels in a relationship. Who's giving, who's receiving, and is that exchange actually being matched? And as I was talking her through it, kind of slipping into that coaching role I naturally fall into, something clicked for me. And I realized this is not just a relationship thing. This is actually really integral as a bodyworker thing. It has a lot to do with how we value our work, how we price our services, how and if we stand up for our boundaries, or if we even have boundaries and policies in our business. And it's honestly something I see constantly with massage therapists and body workers, especially those who do care very deeply, who are highly skilled, who invest endlessly in their education, and who do genuinely want to help people. And I often see a lot of talk in the massage forums about accessibility, about being of service, about not charging too much. But what we don't talk about nearly enough is what happens when the exchange itself is out of balance. Because when reciprocity is missing, even subtly, aspects of our work begin to erode in gradual ways that are really easy to rationalize and often very hard to name. But once you see it, you really can't unsee it. And what I'm talking about is charging what you're worth. getting rid of discounts and sliding scales, and stop worrying about being affordable, because at the end of the day, affordability is completely subjective. Now, I'm going to share different aspects of this idea in this episode, but let's start with this concept of an equal exchange and reciprocity as it applies to a massage therapy business. Here's the thing. Humans are wired for reciprocity. This isn't just a spiritual idea or a personal value. This is something that's been studied extensively in psychology and neuroscience. Our nervous systems expect balanced exchange. When there's chronic lack of reciprocity, the body starts to register it as stress. Not always consciously, but physiologically, the stress is happening. And as a business owner, that imbalance shows up in really subtle ways. It can show up when a client consistently arrives late, or doesn't respect a cancellation policy, or maybe they treat your time like it's flexible or disposable, or they don't treat you with respect and the expertise you have. It can show up when a practitioner is giving everything they have, their skill, their presence, their emotional attunement, but isn't being met with respect, consistency, or appropriate financial exchange. And what's important here is this. Money is not the only form of reciprocity, but it is a primary one in professional care, and it's the one we often get most hung up on. And when that piece is out of alignment, when you're working below your energetic or financial threshold, charging too little, your nervous system will know, even if your conscious mind is actively trying to justify it. That lack of reciprocity doesn't just affect how you feel about your work overall. It affects how you show up, not just during your session, but before and after as well. And that makes a big impact as well. We'll talk about that more too. Specifically before the session, there might be subtle resentment, tension, or depletion. Even if you are deeply committed to doing good work and showing up for these people, I would oftentimes feel insomnia the night before a day in the office. During the session, your brain may have less bandwidth to be able to hold that space, less creativity, less openness to those intuitive moments of, oh, this technique here would really help with this, or I'm going to take an extra moment in this spot just because I feel called. That intuition is kind of dulled. And after the session, maybe the fatigue in your body lingers longer than it needs to, or the clock feels slower. The work takes more out of you than it gives back. Even the moments that we don't always consider the work, whether it's greeting the client or checking them out or sending them confirmation texts and all that stuff outside the hands-on work. Those are all part of the client's experience. And when your nervous system is subtly dysregulated from imbalance, those moments change too. And clients feel that, and it impacts how much they benefit from the hands-on work more than you might realize. And this is where things get really interesting, because a practitioner can still be technically excellent while burning themselves out because of this subtle imbalance in the energetic or financial exchange. And I personally know this firsthand. I have always maintained a very high standard of care for all of my clients, even while working in ways that completely drained me. I didn't ever let the quality slip for my clients. That was always a really high priority for me. But the cost was my own replenishment, my own recovery, and my own sustainability at the end of the day. That's not noble. That's not ethical. It's definitely not sustainable. What we're really talking about here isn't just pricing. It's whether the exchange allows both nervous systems to feel safe, respected, and resourced. Because healing doesn't happen in an environment of resentment or depletion, even if it's masked by professionalism. And when reciprocity is restored, everything changes. When I think about the biggest shift that happened for me once I started working from a more balanced exchange, it wasn't that my skills improved. What changed was how much it cost me to access them. When you're operating from a full and fulfilled cup, financially, energetically, emotionally, your nervous system has more room, more flexibility, and creativity. You're not just going through the motions of a session. You're actually present inside of it. Your brain starts doing what it's really good at when it feels safe, which is making connections and accessing deeper layers of its own knowledge. You notice things that you might not have noticed before. You might think, oh, a hot stone here might really help this, or this would be a great moment to slow down, or cupping this area would support what we're doing. Let me go grab those cups. Not because you're trying harder or you're trying to impress anybody, but because your system isn't in survival mode and these aha moments start happening. Contrast that with working below your threshold. When you're underpaid, overextended, or feeling resentful, even if you'd never admit that out loud, your nervous system simply in those states is conserving energy. It's bracing and protecting you. And that can show up as less patience when something doesn't release, less curiosity, and less capacity to troubleshoot or adapt. And that's really important in body work. And this doesn't happen because you don't care, but because your body simply is tired of giving without being met. I want to be really, really clear here. I don't believe most body workers ever intentionally give bad sessions. But when we're drained, we give narrower sessions. We give from a smaller toolbox. We move on to the next spot faster. We just don't have the bandwidth to stay with complexity, and that impacts the client experience, even if neither of us can articulate why. When reciprocity is present, when that exchange feels clean and balanced, your system wants to give more. That's when generosity becomes organic instead of forced. Hey friend, pausing the episode real quick to share something I personally use and deeply believe in. If you're like most body workers I know, you've probably had those days where your nervous system is completely fried from back-to-back sessions, admin chaos, and way too much time hunched over a screen. Maybe you want to meditate, but your mind is racing. You want to ground, but your body won't let you. And that's where the In Harmony practitioner mat comes in. This isn't just a relaxation mat, it is vibroacoustic therapy, which uses low-frequency sound vibrations through the body to stimulate the vagus nerve, activate the parasympathetic nervous system, and reduce pain and inflammation. It's the real deal. I got mine back in 2021 for my clinic, originally for clients to use before body work or a sauna session, but honestly, I used it just as much for myself. It became my go-to regulation tool between client days and computer-heavy work, especially when I was struggling with back pain, insomnia, and fibromyalgia. This gave me a reset that was both physical and mental. And it's not just anecdotal either. Research shows that vibroacoustic therapy can do really amazing things. It improves heart rate variability, which is a key marker of nervous system resilience. It reduces cortisol and supports deep theta brainwave states, meaning calmer minds and better healing outcomes overall. And it helps with chronic pain, anxiety, PTSD, and even creative flow by resyncing your body's internal rhythms with soothing full body frequencies. It's also a powerful tool for your clients. I used to offer it before sessions to help clients drop into a regulated state, especially those who arrived overwhelmed, anxious, or overstimulated. You know, the ones who can't relax on the table until 30 minutes in. This helped them release their baggage at the door so that we could actually do deeper, more effective work from the start of their actual session with me. Some practitioners even use it during sessions to enhance results. I personally prefer to keep it separate, but I did love pairing it with herbal wraps, giving clients a way to receive deeply without being touched, which can be incredibly healing for trauma-informed care. And here's the thing. The nervous system is the entry point for transformation. If we can calm it, everything changes. For you, for your clients, for your business. And if you want to experience it for yourself or add it to your practice, head to iaminharmony.com and use my code NEURO5 for 5% off. It's a write-off for your business, and honestly, it's one of the best investments I've ever made. All right, let's get back to the episode. There's a belief baked deep into the bodywork world that everyone deserves access to this work, and I actually agree with that. Bodywork is incredibly powerful. It can change lives, and I've absolutely been witness to that. But here's where things get really tangled. Access does not mean self-sacrifice. Affordable is one of the most misleading words we use in this industry. What's affordable to one person is completely out of reach for another. There is no universal price point that makes your work accessible to everyone. And trying to find one usually just leads you to being the one who pays the cost. And I learned this the hard way. At one point, I built programs for my clients, not just one-off sessions, but structured series designed to actually create results. And I teach bodyworkers how to do that now. It's an incredible way to help people break through pain patterns and all kinds of stuff. And alongside creating those programs, I really wanted to give back. So I offered what I called scholarships for them. It was full programs, completely free. People applied for them. Some people were nominated for them. And my heart was wide open, especially for the moms that applied because of my own experience with postpartum depression. And the funny thing that happened was some of the people who won these never showed up. Some people no-showed without any communication. Some arrived late to every single session. And it was really sobering because when there's no investment, financial or otherwise, there often isn't the same level of engagement or respect. Not always, but often enough to have noticed the pattern. And I've seen the same thing with free access to the online programs that I offer massage therapists. The people who paid went deeper. The people who didn't, or who got scholarships or discounts, often didn't engage at all, or they gave up. There are people who truly can't afford care and will show up fully if given the opportunity. And those are the people I want us to be able to support. But here's the key distinction. They are qualified for that access. When you charge your full value to the clients who can meet you there, you create the overflow that allows you to give consciously, intentionally, and without resentment. And that is very different than lowering your prices across the board in the name of accessibility, draining yourself, and unintentionally subsidizing people who could absolutely afford to pay more. That's not equity, it's not sustainable, and it's not actually serving the people who need bodywork the most. And for a moment here, I want to talk honestly about sliding scale pricing, because for a long time, I believed that it was the most ethical option. So what sliding scale is, in case you don't know, is there's a range of prices that usually the practitioner, the office, or wherever sets. You can pay from this amount all the way up to this amount, and you get to choose. So I would hand my clients my phone on Square with all the different price options, and they got to choose what they paid. And what I witnessed over and over again really confused me for a while. My wealthiest client, and I mean objectively wealthy, consistently chose the lowest price on the scale every single time. Meanwhile, her house cleaner, who was also a client of mine, always chose the highest price. Let that sink in, because this is the part we don't like to admit. Wealth does not predict generosity. Value does. When we allow clients to decide what our work is worth, we are outsourcing discernment. And that almost always benefits the people with the most financial power. Sliding scale pricing doesn't automatically create access. Often it just blurs boundaries and shifts responsibility onto the practitioner. And there's another layer here that's really important to name, which is the psychology of investment. There are people who genuinely believe and operate, consciously or unconsciously, that when they pay more, they will get more out of the experience. They show up differently. They commit more fully. They integrate more deeply. And when we block that exchange by insisting on being affordable, we actually limit what's possible for both sides. Now, this isn't about charging the most you possibly can because you can. It's about honoring the real cost, physical, emotional, educational, of doing this work well. Our continuing education is expensive. Our bodies require constant care. Our careers demand rest and sustainable practices, which take time. And if we burn ourselves out trying to be accessible to everyone, the long-term cost is that fewer people get access to us at all. And that's the least ethical option, in my opinion. And here's the part that might feel hard to hear, but it matters. Working below your energetic or financial threshold impacts your nervous system before, during, and after the session. And that impacts our clients greatly. As I mentioned before, there is a deep wired-in human need for reciprocity. This isn't a mindset thing. This is neurobiology. When that exchange feels off, even subtly, your system registers it. You might greet clients with a little less presence when they show up. You might rush them through the checkout process. You might not fully hold the container from start to finish. Even if you're running through the motions and think you might be, subconsciously, there's a lot happening which we are simply not aware of. And yes, greeting your client and checking them out are part of the therapeutic experience, and it impacts the results they get. When clients don't feel fully held, their nervous systems don't settle as deeply. And when you don't feel fully met, your nervous system doesn't either. And here's the paradox. When you're operating from fullness, you actually become more generous. Your brain has the space to ask, what else could support this person? How could I be more effective here? What would help this release without it being draining on you? That's when your full toolbox becomes available. Not because you're pushing, but because your system feels safe enough to give. And frankly, because your prefrontal cortex can finally be fully online. So when people worry that charging more is greedy, exclusive, or unethical, I want to offer this reframe. It may actually be less ethical to keep your prices low, burn yourself out, and cut your career short. If burnout shaves 10 years off your practice, how many people lose access to your work entirely? Now, if you're listening to this and you're thinking, okay, but what if I lose clients with a price increase? I want to talk to you directly for a moment. You probably will lose some people. And that doesn't mean you did anything wrong. It means you're no longer trying to be the right practitioner for everyone. If you feel resentful towards certain clients, if you feel anxious every time a booking pops up on your calendar, if you're watching your calendar fill while your bank account doesn't, that's not a personal failure. That's feedback. It's information. Something in the exchange is out of balance. Now, raising your prices is not abandoning the people who need care. It's creating a structure where you can offer care from overflow instead of obligation. Because here's the truth we don't say loud enough. If someone truly cannot afford a $150 massage, they likely can't afford a $60 one either. Lowering your prices doesn't magically solve systemic access issues. It just transfers the cost onto your body, onto your nervous system, and your future. And when you are finally being met, when clients are paying the full value you've set, you gain something precious, which is choice. You get to decide, case by case, when generosity feels aligned. You get to offer these scholarships or free sessions without resentment. You get to give because you want to. And that's not selfish, it's sustainable. If there's one thing I want you to take from this episode, it's this. When something feels off, when money feels tight, boundaries feel shaky, or resentment is creeping in, something needs to change. Not because you're failing, but because you're evolving. Reciprocity isn't just about money. It's about your time, communication, consistency, and respect. It's about creating exchanges that support you so that you can properly show up to support your clients. And if this conversation is stirring something in you, whether it's curiosity, resistance, excitement, discomfort, it's a sign that you're paying attention. This is the kind of work I do inside the Sustainable Bodyworker membership, helping practitioners untangle value, pricing, boundaries, all that good stuff in a way that actually works in real life, not just on paper. Practitioners inside the community also learn how to create online courses for additional revenue, high-value client programs, how to hire employees the right way, and so much more. At the root of it is the hypnotherapy library, where you can break through any limiting belief which may have popped up when I listed all those cool things that I teach practitioners to do, like who would want to learn from me, or I could never leave a team, or anything else us bodyworkers likes to think to ourselves, which keeps us playing small. My members go on to create hundreds to thousands of dollars a month in additional hands-off revenue, automate their businesses for hands-off growth, and creating teams and working environments which expand and inspire the profession, helping with my mission to see the massage therapy career lifespans increase with financial freedom to boot. Because when we're fully supported and thriving, we can help our clients more than ever before too. Thank you so much for listening in today. Please leave a review, share this episode with someone who might enjoy it. Find us on Instagram at sustainable.bodyworker and let us know what you think. I love having conversations with our listeners, and I'm really excited about this season of upcoming episodes for you. Take it easy. Thanks for listening to The Sustainable Bodyworker. If something resonated for you today, grab your free breakthrough session, which includes a custom hypnotherapy track to help you unlock the next level. Grab it now with the link in the show notes. And to hear more, hit subscribe. I'll see you next time.